So I've always done reviews on Xbox controllers, and then I started doing reviews on Nintendo Switch controllers. But I guess now I'm doing reviews on PlayStation controllers. Besavior sent me out this gadget of a controller with a whole slew of features to review, to tell you the pros, the cons, and if you should buy it at the end of the day for the hefty price tag of $160. Let's get into the video. So I did want to mention, I thought I had to mention this in the video. The first controller that I got from them, one of the buttons were messed up. The left trigger button, actually, it was stuck. It just never kept aiming down sights every time. It would just on and off, on and off. Now, the company did, I reached out to them, let them know. They immediately sent me another one. Them taking these controllers apart and putting their parts in and stuff. You might get something that's defective. And if so, as far as I can tell, just reach out to them. They should hook you up with another one, and you just send the old one back or whatever, however that works. All right, we're gonna start with this triangle, circle, X, and square button. Now these are the membrane. There's nothing special about them, nothing clicky. They didn't do anything special about them. I'm pretty sure that these are, I don't know if these are stock or not, to be 100% honest with you. I just don't know, but they feel good. They don't feel bad or anything. There's no looseness to them or anything like that, playing with them and stuff. So that's pretty good. And then you have your D-pad over here. The D-pad itself, it feels pretty good. I don't have an issue with it. It seems like it rolls off very well. It does have the membrane underneath of it as well. And the D-pad, well, it's not loose. It's actually pretty firm in there. And it's not, I don't shake and hear it. Like, well, I do, but those are other things you hear. Now, moving on to the other buttons on here, the start, the back, or the forward button. I don't know what those buttons are. Tell me below. What are these buttons? But they feel fine. There's nothing issue with them or anything like that. Now, the touchpad, I've never played with PlayStation controller before, so this is my first time playing with it. Testing it out in Apex, I accidentally pressed it trying to hit another button, actuate another button, and literally started shooting a gun. I was freaking out. And then I realized you can actually aim with this, which really kind of impressed me, as I was like, hey, I'm able to aim with this, which of course everybody thought I was hacking all of a sudden because I'm so good at the game. Now, I'm actually trash at Apex, but I tested it with this controller anyways. But I did do good once I figured out a couple of features on the controller. Being $160, you don't get like extended thumbsticks or anything like that with this controller and stuff. It's not a deal breaker because it is $160. They did send you a lot of these like things you can put over the top of the sticks and stuff, which I do. I actually use this one right here when I was testing it out. It goes over pretty easily, but you can always go online, and I can't say for certain, but I would assume that the control freaks, the PlayStations are going to fit on here just fine because this is a stock PlayStation 5 controller at the end of the day, other than the Besavior adding their few components to it. So you can always get those on there and you'd be good there. It doesn't have trigger stops or anything like that on the back. It's supposed to have adaptive triggers though on it, which you can turn on and off. So when I did circularity test, I was getting a 10.8 out of the left stick and a 12.2 out of the right stick. Pretty much average, I would say, for your normal potentiometers on joysticks and stuff like that. All right, guys, when it comes to stick drift out of the box, as you can see here, axle 3 is not completely on. You can see the right joystick is off just so slightly. It's very, very, very close, but it is off a little bit. And these are the potentiometers. You get some, you're going to be like this sometimes. Honestly, I'm not really worried about it. It's not like it's off a whole lot, but it is there for you guys to see. So if you don't think it's worth it, then don't buy it. Now, the trigger pull out of the box, which is, I've always ever pretty much dealt with 250, which is a 4 millisecond of latency for you people that don't know that. And well, this one does come out of the box wireless. I believe it was 125 wireless, and then wired it was 250. But this is a PlayStation controller. If you look at pro players with that use controllers, like if you look at a lot of these pro players, they use a lot of PlayStation built controllers because they can be overclocked. And what that means is you can actually overclock this controller. Yes, this controller can be overclocked. I was able to overclock it. I was getting less than a millisecond of pull time, which means 0.03 of a second more faster than a normal, like an Xbox controller or something like that, which you don't think is a lot, but in competitive shooters, it does add up to a lot. Did it make me better? Absolutely not. It did not make me any better at the game. I still pretty trash at Apex. I'm still learning, trying to get better at that game. I might have to give in and go back to Call of Duty. Help me. Give me some tips below on how to play Apex, because I'm trash at it. I don't have a video on how to overclock PlayStation controllers. There is a specific way to do it. I'll leave a link to Gamer Heaven's video on how to overclock below. He does a very well job of that. All right, so as you can see here, the Besavior itself is connected to the controller. This is not able to come off or anything. We're going to move on to it and talk about it, actually. I mean, you can take it off, but it's going to take a lot of work and something you don't want to try to probably mess with, to be honest with you, unless you know how to do it, and I don't know how to do it, so we're not going to do it. So the very first thing I want to talk about is it does have an LCD screen on the front of it. As you can see here, you can see it. It's pretty good, works fine and stuff. What you do got to make sure is you don't have anything saying anything here when you go to use the controller, because if this is up, the controller won't work. You have to make sure that is not up after you set something up or something to back out of that. Pro tip, I figured that out. You're going to figure it out pretty quick, but just so that you know. So the very first thing I want to talk about is, well, we're going to talk about mapping. Mapping is pretty self-explanatory. You can come into here like this, and as you can see, it's flashing P1. If you press up on the D-pad, it'll go to R2, L2, R1, and so forth. And you can literally make any, set up any way you want. So for example, I have P1 as R1. So how I did that was, once you're on P1, you see it flashing like so, you hit right on the D-pad and you will be over here. Once you're over here, you would just hit up and down on the D-pad itself and go to whatever button you want the P1 to associate with. You're asking me, James, Pugh, what is P1? Well, that's these buttons right here, PP. I don't know why we name them P. Paddle 1, paddle 2 is what I assume. It's probably a good guess. Just thought about it off the top of my head. That's probably why they put a P on there. So you have P1, P2, P3, and P4. So there you have it. Next mode on here is going to be turbo mode. Yeah, that's right, turbo mode. Now, what is cool about this mode is once I go into it, you can set it up on a button. So let's just go ahead and go to the button everybody's going to set this up for, which is R2, which is your shoot button in our FPS games. I know you guys too well, and gals, because I tested it. This is the first time I actually tested this, and it was kind of weird because it did something I didn't know turbo mode does, unless it's just this controller, which it took away most of my recoil. Yeah, that's right. Anyways, don't use that in the game. I know like 90% of y'all is going out and buying this controller right now because you just heard that. But you press, once you get it on whatever you want the turbo to be on, you press right on the D-pad again, and you'll see it's flashing off, and then you can set it up. It goes from 0.5 all the way to 25, and then it goes down from 25 from there. So 25, and then you 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, so forth, and so forth. When you have this on, you hold it and it just keeps pressing the button. The higher you have the number, the faster it presses. Simple as that. Now, auto turbo is the same thing. You can't have turbo and auto turbo on at the same time with the same button. Just be aware of that. I did try it with the R2 again on here, and all it does is once you press R2 once, it continuously presses. You don't need to hold it down at that point. It's on. Once you press it again, it's off. But yes, you can set that up for any button. Just go here, press right on the D-pad whatever button you want it on, and then you can set it up to the value you want it to be at as well. Next on the list is going to be combination. So combination is simple. Whatever you set a button to, when you press that button, the rest of the buttons would actuate. So if I set up P1, I can set up X, and then O, and then square, and then triangle, or X again if I want to. And when I hit P1 on the back of the controller, it's literally going to press those buttons in sequence at the same exact time. So, people, I think I've heard of people using this in certain games like Minecraft when mining or something like that. I don't know. I've never played a game, but I've heard of people wanting to use this for those style things and stuff. I'm not sure. You can let me know below what you would use this for. All right, guys, so I wanted to show you the learning on the controller. I actually just figured this out while editing it. I was having a hard time trying to learn how to use it. I think a lot of people work because no one really covers it, I feel like. But I do want to show you guys what it looks like. So here's it on PC in action. I'm not pressing any buttons or anything. You can see it's just continuously hitting the buttons I set up to be used by it. So now that you see that, I will show you how to actually do that from within here. All right, so when you come into controller and come into learning itself, you're going to press OK, and then we'll use O as the example here. You'll come over here to where the play button is. You'll press OK again, and then you'll simply just press in the keys that you want to use and at the rate of speed you want to do it. So if I'm like going slow like this around the controller, you can see while I'm doing that, the number is actually lowering, which means that's how many times, that's how much you can do this for. And then if I were to speed up real quick, let's see how fast I can go here. Just circling around really quick. All right, and then what you'll do is you'll hit back once, and then you'll come here. This means it's paused, which means it's not gonna work if you were to hit the button. But if I press down, this means it will work one time through. And if I have it on the circle like this is gonna repeat the process over and over and over. So if you're in a game trying to farm, this is going to be the best bet for you. That's not a multiplayer game that you can consider cheating on. Don't cheat on those games. But unlike something where you just farm to get a lot of XP or something like that, this would be perfect for that. And then once you're done with that, you'll literally just back out twice, and then we'll go to the controller overhead, or the PC anyway, so you can see what I see. And I'm literally going to press the O button one time. And as you can see, it started the initiation of the buttons, and you should start seeing them get a little bit faster and faster and faster, where I start going rapidly. As you can see, I'm going rapidly now, just pressing buttons crazy like. But yeah, that's how you use it. I wanted to show you guys this. Now you know, so let me know if that helped you out in the comments below. And I did want to mention, if you want to get it to stop, you would literally hit O again. But if you hit O again, it'll start the sequence over. So once you hit O to stop it, you come to learning, and you simply want to come over here and press pause. You can also delete it from right here. And once you delete it, you go back to play to start a new sequence again and learn a new sequence. Simple as that. Next on the list is multi-set, which is simple. I mean, you have 4 different configurations, which is pretty much profiles you can set up to where you set everything up on this controller. So if you have different games, you do different controls and stuff like that in, which I mean, like going from like a Fortnite to a Call of Duty to an Apex, you might have 3 different style button layouts you'd like to play with the back buttons and stuff, which why they didn't just name a profile, I don't know. Don't ask me below. Moving on, well, you do have languages, so if you want to set a different language up, you go right ahead. You have factory reset on this controller as well, so if you mess with a bunch of things on here and you're like confused and you done screwed stuff up, don't worry about it. You come here, hit factory reset, and then bada bing, bada boom, it'll reset. I'm not going to do that because I totally just did it. So that's how you do factory reset on the controller. Once you see that mark, you're good to go. You can hit back, and the controller is set to reset or to factory reset. And then you can go back through and literally set up everything you already set up to make a video for the company, and you were going to play with the controller a little bit more. Now you got to go back and figure out and redo it all again. So that's that. So that's it for the modes on the controller themselves. Now I want to go back to the controller real quick itself. The back buttons, the paddles you would say on the controller, they're not like super far from the controller themselves, and they are mechanical, as you can hear. So they do have that going for them. Now I will say, if I'm being honest with you guys, the mechanical and the switching itself, so once I actuate the button, that's that button being actuated, and then I can push that much further down, and the reset is right there. And there's a lot of like room to travel after you actuate the button, which does concern me for like longevity of the back. Now, it could be very simple. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're made to do. I just worry about whatever mechanic is in there that you're pressing up against and then pushing more pressure down after actuating it, if that's good on that pressure point or not of the controller itself. I'm going to, that's just my thought process in it. Again, they could totally, Besavior, if you're out there watching this, definitely drop that below if that is something that y'all decided to go with for a certain purpose or anything. But it is definitely a little bit concerning because, I mean, there is a good few centimeters I'm able to travel after actuating the button. And I just worry about that longevity of the buttons over time, or the paddles themselves. Should they be buttons or paddles? Because I feel like paddles should be able to take off and stuff, and buttons are like just in the controller. And these are technically in the controller. You can't take these off the controller. I don't know. Let me know below. Do you think these are paddles or buttons? So my final thoughts on the controller are this. I absolutely love the back buttons on the controller, or paddles, whatever you want to call them. I think the controller is set up nice. I definitely like the look of it, how they went with the buttons layout and stuff on here, and how they put their own design, their own touch on it and everything. And, you know, it comes with quite a bit, but then again, it's $200 after shipping. So honestly, it's going to be one of those things on if you need the features on this controller and what you're using this controller for. If you're kind of just using this controller as an everyday normal use controller, personally, I'm probably going to go elsewhere. But if I'm using the turbo function and I'm using the Coronis Max function, you shouldn't use that. Don't use that. Please, for the love of God, don't use it. But if you do, then I guess, you know, this is worth buying. I don't know. I don't have a Coronis Max. So don't use it. I'm not going to test it with it on here. But my point is, if that's what you're into, then I guess this is a controller for you. If it is a controller for you, make sure you use the links below to check out the controller. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace and love.